factor was a tremendous amount of pride that we had for Canada when we saw the truckers going across Canada this last few weeks, right? So we give them a hats off for waking us up, bringing us together as a country,
yes,
and showing us the real Canadians that we are. We're all different. We all have common goals. You know, we have the heart, we have the soul. We want peace. We want freedom. We want the choice to determine our own futures and so on and so forth. Eh? I want to. Has anyone heard the story of the frog and the scorpion? Some have heard it. Some haven't. Okay, I'll tell you this little story. So there's a frog that's sitting on the bank of a river, and on that same bank is a scorpion looking for new adventure. And the scorpion comes along, sees the frog. Now the scorpion's trying to get to the other side of the river, and he sees the frog and he says, "Hey, well, Mr. Frog, could you give me a lift over to the other side of the river?" And the frog says, "Well, now why would I do that? You know, you're just going to sting me and we'll die. I'll die." And the scorpion says, "Well, no, I'd never do that because then I'd die too. And you know, trust me on this." Maybe you've heard that before from the family. You know, just trust me on this. So, nevertheless, the frog thinks about it for a while, and maybe he's like a Canadian, you know. He just says, "Hey, we want to help you out here. You know, we're generous people. You know, we want to just help things along." So the frog agrees, and so the scorpion jumps on the frog's back, and they start going across the river. Well, halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. So the frog starts going paralyzed, starts drowning, looks up at the scorpion, and says, "Well, why did you do that? Now we'll both die." And the scorpion says, "Well, it's just by nature." And it's a lot like Canada in some ways. We got very peaceful people who want good for everything, good in the world, everything else. But we got some really big scorpions on our back right now who aren't afraid to take us all down and themselves. So I really just wanted to bring that story to light. And if you look up that story on the internet, it leads to another story called A Prisoner's Dilemma. And I urge you to do that because it's actually the basis behind that story. Something else I wanted to say here. Now I forget. So I want to thank you all for
thank
coming
you.
out and David. I remember what I was saying. The freedoms that have been taken away that are so subtle, those little steps, those little grains of sand that keep sinking deeper and deeper into totalitarianism, right? And I don't know, you've heard that the internet is being censored for Russian content, right? So that we can't hear about what's going on in Russia. So we've got Russian TV stations, any kind of Russian stuff, YouTube, Facebook, even TikTok, the Chinese platform, is banning Russian content. So that the only narrative that we'll hear is what government wants us to hear, right? But there's another more different effect that's going on here. This is internet censorship, folks.
Yep.
And if it's not about Russians, what's it going to be? About truckers?
Yeah.
About what you think today or tomorrow or whatever the case may be? So a lot of times these little things come about that, we don't really think are a bad thing, and then suddenly, whoa, what the hell happened here? I'll give you another example. This is my opinion, of course. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. What about the idea that the city of Edmonton, I know that we don't want the city of Edmonton to have a mask bylaw or COVID passports or anything anywhere in the city. We want them, okay, in my opinion. I hope everyone else does. Okay, however, if the province adopts to say that cities and municipalities and counties and that cannot enact their own regulations, which is local to their current conditions, okay, what does that really mean? Okay, so despite the fact that Edmonton looks like it's behind the times with our current mayor and so on, if we allow a centralized control to take control of our smaller communities, in my opinion, we're now falling into a trap. It's this kind of situation. Just my opinion. A perfect example, I don't know if you've heard of the Crete, Alberta. You know this town? Yeah? Okay. So the Crete, Alberta never had a COVID mandate, ever. Since the beginning of COVID. They never enforced passports, they never enforced masking. They had their own thing, city council voted no. But if the province says, we're in charge now of your medical decisions within your own county, how is that going to change? Okay? So, nevertheless, that's one thing. And another thing that I heard this week was the farthest northernmost county of Alberta. Way up there on the other side of Slave Lake. But isn't it interesting that this Deputy Prime Minister with a name like Free something, okay, is out there telling the people of Ukraine that she's fighting for their democracy, right to protest, right to free speech and everything else, while she's passing mandates in Canada to stop it here.
Isn't that insane?
I mean, excuse me. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to bring up?
Freedom to own property like guns.
Woo!
Yes, that's a very good one. Here's a good one. In 2021, it would be ridiculous for people to consider that armed citizens could stand up against a state like Russia with modern arms and training. Yet in 2022, we're saying, let's just keep sending them $25–40 million worth of small arms to fight a massive country military.
Insane.
Who's making money on this? Look, follow the money.
Yes.
What is this all about? This is, in my opinion, if you're not following the mass formation psychosis theory,
right.
Okay, this is a redirection of fear.
Yes.
Okay? It says, you can't be afraid of those non-vaxxers anymore. Now we're going to focus our attention on a little world.
Yep.
Okay? And after that, what?
We see you, Canada.
Oh, after that, what's it going to be? Who knows? Climate change?
Time for the march.
Anyway, take care, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Our cargo is truth and righteousness, upon which we cannot fall. And we're cheered on by the Canadian and American people at every port of call, and we're cheered on by the Canadian and American people, moms and dads and all. There's no discrimination in Florida, so we'll make their freedom mine. There's no discrimination in Florida, so Canada and America, it's time. To end your vaccine mandates, coercion, and malfeasance. To lift the cover and shine the light upon the early treatments. We are the Canadian and American truckers upon a very long haul. Our cargo is truth and righteousness, upon which we cannot fall. And we're cheered on by the Canadian and American people at every port of call, and we're cheered on by the Canadian and American people, moms and dads and all. Thank you.
Talking about, we need to start writing to our MPs about Bill S-233, which is the Universal Basic Income bill. As I'm sure many of you already know, the pandemic was for the vaccines, for the digital IDs, and the digital IDs are going to be what is the gateway to the universal basic income as well as the social credit system. So they've got this stuff lined up already, but we need to stay vigilant. There's something that Trudeau just did like the other day that I'm not sure if people have seen, but it's called the New Canada Digital Adoption Program. So this headline says it's to help small businesses thrive in the digital economy. So this article is just from March 3rd, and basically it's providing grants or funding for small businesses that would like to be a part of the New Canada Digital ID Adoption Program. So some people say, well, I don't have anything to show people that's legit. So you can, again, use DuckDuckGo, and you can look up Digital ID Canadian Banking Association. They've had this in mind for a number of years, so you can actually download a PDF. It's got it all outlined in there, and it's going to be part of the plan. So we've got to keep talking about this, the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. This is all coming down the line. One thing just want to mention about Russia. They are actually ahead of us in this, so please don't think Putin good. Good, bad, what is that, right? Like, it doesn't mean anything. It just puts us against each other again and again. So, Putin isn't good, Putin isn't evil, Ukraine isn't good, Ukraine isn't evil. That's all bullshit. It's just meant to distract you and divide us more. So we have to realize that in Russia, this is the same thing going on there as it is here. There's politicians opposed to it, there's politicians for it. But they do have a digital currency there as well. It's called Spare. It's funny, it's called Spare Coin, but it's spelled SBER coin. And there's a giant corporation in Russia that's behind it. It's called Spare Bank, and they're now like the big Amazon in Russia. So this is all going on there. The Russian people don't trust the Russian government any more than we trust our government. So the Russians are just people just like us. And, you know, with NATO encroaching on the Russian border, it's natural that Russia's going to want to fight back and defend itself. And from what I've seen, yes, we stand with people. These are just all innocent people that have just been put in the middle of these government and elite wars. And we can't let that distract us from what's really going on. And that's that this is a complete takeover by the elites of the everyday common people. And we can't let this Ukraine thing distract and divide us. So stay strong. Don't put people down for wanting to support Ukraine and everything. We really don't know what's going on. We really don't. And I think it's a good thing to just, you know, take a breath and just stand back and just always feel what's in your heart. You know the truth in your heart. You know the truth in your bones. When you take a minute to yourself and just be quiet and breathe and follow your breath. So I just ask everybody to just do that. Let's just do that right now. Let's just take a breath in together and let it out. And one more. And when you allow yourself to be silent, you put aside that TV, that phone, and even that book, whatever, and just listen to what your intuition is telling you. You'll find the truth. And they distract us with the shopping and the TV and the Netflix so that we never find that quiet place in ourselves. But you have to trust that. Always trust that. That is how we're going to get out of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Book, right? And I said to him, okay, I'll take that. How come our college says one thing, and the British college allows them to have treatment with ivermectin now, and we don't? Why does the British college allow them to have treatment, and we didn't, and we're not allowed to have that? And he said, next question, please, is what he said. So Jason Kenney needs to go for being dishonest and for being not honorable, not giving us his word. And so people ask me, well then who would you put in next? And the answer is, I can't give you a name, but I can assure you there are good people who are MLAs who are trying to be able to rise up and get Jason Kenney out and take the leadership race. I don't know if anybody of you know who Todd Lowen is. Todd Lowen rose up and spoke against Jason Kenney, and he got thrown out of the party.